we've made modifications based on the recommendations of the of staff.
Barry, just.
Yeah, I had one other question.
Oh, sorry.
How long has Belliardo owned this lot? Did I say the name correctly? The owner? Belliardo?
I believe it's been about 15 years. I pulled the deed if you want.
No, I was just curious. It was just a curious.
Yeah, it's been for some time. He lives in Texas. He's had.
Yeah, I noticed that on the application. So.
I have a question.
Well, Barry's answering.
Sorry.
Just getting back to the water flow, I can see what you're doing with the contours, but what strikes me is the swale that you have on the east side is going to, because of the house, obviously, you're not having that clean sheet flow across that, now you put the house there, so you're channeling that water now to the north and towards the driveway, or the proposed driveway in the street. And what I don't see with these contours is it seems to be channeling all that water out into the front of the lot as opposed to continuing to the northwest. It's channeling it more to the north. And my question is, once you get past the house, is that going to then sheet flow to the northwest again? Is that what you're trying to
flatten it out?
So it's going to be a stronger flow to the north first and then back to the northwest. So
Yes.
you're going to have some sheet flow there, but it's going to be more concentrated than it is now, I think, isn't it?
The ultimate path is this house to the west is slightly higher, so it does hit that and runs almost around right out to the street.
So you don't anticipate with these contour changes making the situation any worse as far as flow of water onto the street area?
No more water will be going with, well, up to the 10 years, up to the 10-year storm as
Or
required.
you continue to,
Yes.
you're not going to put any more water or faster water onto the street?
No.
Duncan, Dave. Nancy, she said you had another question.
Do, sort of a question for Justin, but maybe you guys can help me out here. It's with his memo. In the first paragraph of his memo, he says the soil evaluation reports provided indicate that the depth to seasonal high groundwater is 17 inches, and the depth to impervious soils is 7 inches. In the next paragraph, it says the water table elevation was disputed by the applicant. Is the water table elevation the same as the seasonal high groundwater? In other words, he's talking about depth to seasonal high groundwater is 17 inches, then a dispute, and the water table elevation granted at 4 feet.
Doesn't it say there was wet season testing?
Yeah, we did soil evaluation in 2002. Actually, I had the first soil evaluator's license. This is probably one of the first ones. When we were looking at the soils, there was an indication it could be at 17 or it could be at 4 feet. We took the conservative number and agreed to monitor it through the wet season. We monitored the water table through the wet season and determined that it was actually 4. So there seems to be a little discrepancy, but the actual monitoring through the wet season is a more accurate way of determining that than it is from a soil evaluation. So the 17 has kind of been a stickler on this lot. Everybody thinks there's a 17-inch water table, but that was a conservative estimate.
It's proven out to be 4.
Because the soils are very dark, they're hard to read. It was early in the process, back in 2002 was when this was really started.
So the 17 inches and the 4 feet are actually referring to the same water table elevation.
The 17 is
They're
more.
both accurate, but the 4 feet was the more.
Right, right. And I just was thinking, first he says it's 17, then he says it's 4, but he's talking about the same thing. It's just that the 4 is what it is more accurately through the wet season. Got it. Thank you.
There's been an elevation here of the 110 feet of and if we go to the opposite corner, we have an elevation of 93 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we've got 17 feet there, difference in elevation in that distance.
Yes.
It's a pretty steep elevation.
It's a fairly steep lot. It's not a wall.
Well, it's a wall right now. You're smoothing this out. You go and you look at that, you bet.
We're actually doing very little grading to this lot. If you look at the plans, we're doing very little grading to the lot. Our maximum cuts are about a foot. We're only cutting a foot. I think we have, because of the Cultec units, we have a fill of about 2 feet is our maximum fill.
I'm not seeing that calculations in my file. It's confusing. I don't see it.
Yeah, this right here is about a foot cut. This right here is about a 9-inch cut. This is all left natural. This is a 1 foot 3 foot fill. There's a 6-inch cut here. This right here is a maximum. There's a 2 foot fill in this corner going back to 0. Other than that, we kept the natural grades of the lot. As close as we could. I mean, you have to do some adjustment on a slope, on any slope lot to get a flat house on a slope lot.
Can you feel on this, I don't know, probably about 15 feet, feel that the water coming from the east side, coming into this container on the left side, that's big enough and the whole water flowing from that and down into the neighbor's yard.
This one or this?
Yeah, that one.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Yes, because we're cutting most of the water off on that side, so whatever water is left from this part of the hill, this is the peak. And there's a small watershed through here that will get around that corner, yes.
Small watershed? I'm sorry, you said a small watershed, so you think that's not going to be a lot of water? I was actually going to ask you where the water, how it was going to get into the Cultec system.
The Cultec system is just taking the roof water.
It's just taking what?
The roof water.
Oh.
The roof leaders are tied into it, so it all
So
says.
it's not taking any of this runoff?
No.
Okay, you're right, you did say that.
The ordinance requires you to calculate post-development versus pre-development runoff and capture that difference on site. So it's got nothing to do with sheet flow or what water lands on the site. It really has to do with, look at the box we're putting there and capturing that water in the units. And that's all that's for, and that's all the ordinance requires.
So the Advantech system is a little higher than the elevation is now?
In the rear?
Yeah. Will that be a little raised?
Yes, it has to be raised a minimum of 6 inches.
Will that be enough for the water to then flow around it?
It's only about, this is a 10 scale plan, so it's only about 15 feet or 17 feet exactly, 17 foot of runoff from this stone wall. This land does not run onto our property. So it's only 17 feet of land, so got a little bit of a hill, we'll run around that.
Oh, so you're saying that the property next door doesn't run onto your property there?
No, there's a swale on this side, and this water runs kind of down between the houses.
Okay. And then, I mean, it does seem like the Advantech system and the house will channel the water on both sides of the house to some degree.
It'll channel it through here, yes.
Right. Which potentially could speed it up as it goes toward the neighbor. No, yes?
It should, with the swale, it should not go on with the neighbor. We're trying to give him less water than he had in
So the swale would direct it to go where? It comes
the
down?
swale is going to go here, and then it would actually cut across this corner perpendicular
So that
to
would,
the
you would
grades.
direct it along the property line as it is on the
Yes.
other side of the house. So it would be more, all the water would take a sort of a toward the street direction and then go back to,
Yes.
I see, okay. Okay, that helps, thank you.
Scott, a couple of quick questions. Cultec system, is that a type of system that's going to require maintenance or attention in out years?
It has an observation port installed on it. It's basically the roof water, so there's not a lot of silts, there's not a lot of cleaning to do. It should be monitored, and I believe on the sheet there's an inspection.
Are they moving parts?